Welcome to Healthy Entrepreneurship, a series from the Behind the Systems podcast, supported by Freedom EE Colabocracy. Here we explore the 12 health pillars every entrepreneur needs to balance. In a world where money, digital and physical markets, social media, and information overload all hit at once, let's learn how to navigate it all with more clarity and well-being. Let's go.
Today's conversation brings together 4 experts working at the edges of health, mind, and human potential. We're joined by Dr. Luis Neri, a physician specializing in metabolic and integrative medicine, known for his physiology-driven approach to hormones, nutrition, and metabolic health. Dr. Juan Pablo Roig Albuquerque, a psychiatrist and addiction specialist and director of a clinic focused on drug dependency and recovery. Fabio Bocelli, medical doctor, researcher, and founder of the Otima Project, working in personalized medicine and neuropsychophysical optimization. And Dr. Christopher Brandlin, known as the Carnivore lawyer, is an attorney and nutrition professional supporting the carnivore community through law, diet, and lifestyle. 4 different paths, one shared goal, helping people live healthier and more intentional lives.
I will start with Juan because I think that everything starts with the mind. We can only change our body if you change our mind. So Juan, in your field, what is the most urgent challenge you are witnessing today that directly impact human health, performance, and decision making?
Well, I think the biggest issue we have here is that we started to see lifestyle changes as a cure for a lot of illnesses. And I think that's wrong because it shouldn't be a cure. It should be normal. It should be like prevention. And we shouldn't let people get hurt or sick or get start having obesity and diabetes and everything to say like, oh, we have to change the lifestyle, and it should be just normal or a prevention. And what we are seeing is that we have a big we have technology, we are growing a lot in technology and new treatments and everything. But we are also letting people being more sick with our food, with our air. So I think if we go to the start, to the beginning, to what is causing a lot of problems in the global health, we shouldn't be having so much time and so much energy focusing in new treatments and new medication that perhaps they shouldn't be we shouldn't be taking so much time using them, because we wouldn't have the problem if we were fixing the way of life we have, so that we wouldn't get hurt with our environment.
Makes super sense. I would like to make the same question to Luis, Dr. Luis. He's a metabolic doctor, so he's between you, Juan, and Dr. Fabio. So please, Luis, in your field, what is the most urgent challenge you are witnessing today that directly impacts human health, performance, and decision making?
Oh, that's a big question. Look, I think the most important thing is that people don't understand that the illness, the diseases, it starts in their food, in their environment, as Juan said. Nowadays, we have loads and loads of treatments, conventional treatments with drugs. We have metabolic treatments with hormones, with vitamins, with loads of stuffs. but we don't understand that we start getting ill with food, or actually with stuff that are not food. So we can't make anything in our body. We can't produce energy. We can't have any metabolic process that is not entirely dependent of what of what we eat, of what we breathe, of what we have in our environment and in our lifestyle. That's about hormones, that's about energy, that's about enzymes. We need to understand that there isn't any treatment in the world that will make your body, your metabolic environment work uh, entirely, completely, without a good lifestyle. And that's the most important, because even in my practice, we have lots of patients that seeks for a treatment without lifestyle changing, for a magical pill that will solve all their problems, all their metabolic problems, hormonal problems, and things don't work like that. Even in our view of medicine, even in our view of metabolic health, we need to understand that change starts in the change of lifestyle.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Thank you so much. Dr. Fabio, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, okay. It's a very good question. To which department, to which discipline, we have some change of views. But I think the lifestyle is really a really importance in the health cultivation. We have to cultivate the health. I think in my way of view, the most important thing is the resilience of the adaptation for stress of life. For each people, this resilience, this adaptation changes for many factors, like genetic, like lifestyle behavior, like how and what we eat, and what we eat is a very important thing. But how we eat, it's important too. And we can eat with presence. We can eat without people were lonely, to change the way of we cook the meal. Many things that is the view of we cultivate the health, and this cultivation depends of our references of life. Who is the man? Who is or what is the meal that we found and we take the references of the life. What is exercise? What is sleep? Many the sum of these things can be decided by our resilience of the stress. And now we have knowledge, we have devices, we have many things that make a new reference way to make this decision, to make this health cultivation. I think it's only not only in Brazil, but all around the world. The change of the references may be the one response to this question.
Yes, I agree. So, Dr. Luis, from your clinical experience, how does morning nutrition and metabolic dysfunction affect physical energy, inflammation, hormonal balance in high performing professionals?
Okay. So I think the first thing we have to understand is that inflammation is actually a way of our body defending itself from things we are doing that we shouldn't be doing. So aggressions from the environment, from the food we are eating, and that's a concept that I usually explain for my patients, because the problem, it's not the inflammation itself, but what's causing inflammation, and maintaining inflammation active for a long period of time. Thankfully for the inflammation, we are alive, even making things we shouldn't do, eating things we shouldn't eat. So inflammation is certainly an ally in this point of view, but we don't want to be inflamed all the time for a long period of time. So we have obviously to treat the cause of the inflammation, stop eating what you can't eat. So that's an important point, because the main drive of inflammation is food, is carbohydrates, vegetable oils, and we have to completely eliminate those things from our food. One thing that's important to say as well is that lots of hormones, uh, important hormones in our metabolism, depends on cholesterol. That's one thing that's abominated from the medicine all around the world. But cholesterol is one of the most important molecules in our metabolism. 100% of our cells have cholesterol. Hormones like testosterone, progesterone, estradiol, cortisol are all made of cholesterol. Our brain is mainly made of fat and has a lot of cholesterol. Something about 20 to 25% of cholesterol of our whole body is in our brain. So if you don't eat meat, if you don't eat fat, saturated fat, you can have healthy levels of cholesterol, and you can form hormones, you can't maintain your mental health, you can have a healthy ongoing metabolism. So you talked about inflammation, you talked about hormones, and you talked about something more. What was
And
it?
then in the physical energy, inflammation, and hormonal balance in the high performing professionals, because our focus are entrepreneurs.
Great. So another thing we have to understand is that uh, carbohydrates can be a fast way of obtaining energy, but it's not a good way. It's not an efficient way of obtaining energy. So fat has 2.25 more calories than carbohydrates, and it can sustain your energy production for a long period of time of fasting, and that's something you can't do with carbohydrates. When you live of carbohydrates, you need to eat in 3 hours, 2 in 2 hours, and that's not efficient for anyone. Actually, stopping all your day to prepare a meal, to eat a meal, 1 hour eating, a lot of times during the day. So one thing we can think about this is that when you have a diet full of fat, low in carbohydrates, you can perform mentally, physically, a lot in a performance much greater than when you live a life with carbohydrates. When you make when you are practicing fasting, you have to understand that you are prioritizing the energy for your brain, for your muscles, and not for your digestive system. Every time you eat, a lot of your energy is directly moved to your digestive system, because you need energy to absorb nutrients. So the best way to practice exercise, to work, to study, is during fasting is with a diet with with a lot of fat and with low carbohydrates.
Makes super sense.
Yes, so super happy to be here in this powerful roundtable. And yeah, all the insights I agree with, and especially the cholesterol misunderstanding is a huge thing that I think we should really make communicate about it and make people know about it, how important it is. And my question to Dr. Juan is, you work with mental health and addiction and neuropsychophysical optimization. So what cognitive and psychological patterns do you see emerging in professionals under constant digital pressure and stress?
Well, I have a lot of patients that come and say, "Juan, I think I have Alzheimer's." And I say, "What? Yeah, I forget everything. I have brain fog. I think I'm evolving with Alzheimer's." No, it's not Alzheimer's. Let's see what's going on. And when we look at this patient, he has a very bad diet, and that is a very important thing, that because I changed a lot, because I started doing I'm also in a carnivore diet for 2 years, and my brain was like you know was boosted, and it started working really well. And I said, I had a very big problem. Is the way I was taught to ask the patients and to make an anamnesis, to make a story of the patient. And I would ask the patient, how is your diet? Do you eat healthy food? Yeah, I eat healthy food. Yeah, I eat salad. Okay, it's okay. I didn't know about anti-nutrients. I didn't know about a lot of things that I started studying. And I said, oh, I thought some people had a very good diet. They weren't with a good diet. And I didn't go further to know what was their lifestyle and what was the diet based on. So I started realizing the importance, like Luis told, of eating more fat, because when we see patients, then they don't eat meat, they don't eat saturated fat, and they have low B12 vitamin. They they don't go they don't have contact with the sun. They are always with sunscreen and everything, and the vitamin D is decreasing, and all of that is going to affect the mind, is going to affect all of the cognitive impairment, is going to be with cognitive problems. They are going to have memory loss and everything. And we fix that with changing the lifestyle, or sometimes putting some vitamins, and they start having a very big progress in all of that. And also, we have a lot of problems with depression, anxiety, because when I was on med school or doing psychiatry, we didn't know the real cause of depression, anxiety, and now we have a lot of studies coming on, and they are finding the importance of inflammation, of stress, the importance of cholesterol. Like we said, cholesterol is a block, a building block. It's essential for our cells. So we have a lot of cholesterol in our brain. And the problem is, the cholesterol doesn't pass the brain barrier. But we need the food to make, our brain makes the cholesterol it needs. And we need the food to be the block, to be the initial part to build the cholesterol we need in our brain. And some medications, yeah, they pass the brain barrier and they lower our cholesterol in the brain. And we see some patients that have problem with memory and everything because they are in this obsession we have in medicine that we have to lower our cholesterol. And it's not, we started seeing that it's not that. The cholesterol is not the problem. Inflammation is. And cholesterol is trying to go there and make to fix the problem, and sometimes it forms a plaque and everything, but the real problem is the inflammation, the chronic inflammation, because stress and inflammation are good but it's a response to fix our body. But when it's we start hurting the body once and again and again and again, we start having a chronic stress and inflammation. Then we start having problems with our body, and our mind is really connected to all of that. And we started seeing, for example, that if you are stressed with chronic stress, you are going to have an area in the brain called the amygdala that's going to be with changes in, you will have some changes in the way the neurons work, making, fixing themselves. They stop making autophagy, and that causes depressive symptoms. It's one of the ways we discovered. There are ways like with inflammation. We found some places when we make inflammation in rats, we can see them having more anxiety symptoms. And there are studies, like for example, in this area in rats, the abenula area, when we put an antidepressive, it starts getting better. And when we suppress the autophagy in the cells, the antidepressant stops working. So we are almost sure that we are finding some of the causes for depression, anxiety, and a lot of mental illnesses that are being studied with diet and lifestyle. And the problem is when we make med school, we learn to use our medications and everything, but it's not, we don't have too much time spent in med school learning about lifestyle and the importance of it. Even our gut has an influence in our brain. So everything is connected. And it's very important when we are working with health that we have a holistic view of the individual. All the body is connected. We have a lot of things working, and all like a engine. If we take some part up, other parts are going to fail. So it's very important to have all this view in energy and food and lowering inflammation and lowering oxidative stress. And that's very important for our brain function and for the whole body.
Very nice. Thank you so much for your answer. I met Dr. Fabio because Dr. Fabio help one of my best friend that lost a huge part of her brain to talk again and to be on her feet again. So, Dr. Fabio, tell me about the connectivity between the gut and the brain with Optima development that we were doing in Brazil with high level performance entrepreneurs and athletes.
No, well, For me, it's a very pleasure to treat your friend. Now is my friend too, Patricia. She had a car accident, very intense, and now she come back to make the doctorate classes. Very good. I talked with her last week, and she was better than the in the beginning of the year. Well, many people talk about the connection of gut and the brain. It's a very strong connection by not only by biochemical situations like in neurotransmitters and the hormones and the bacteria, the biosis of the gut, and many things that is involved in this situation. But in my point of view, I studied a lot of the movement of the body, the inner cell movement, the bioelectrical endogenous activity, and the movement of the body and the movement of the gut. It's a very complex situation. Many people talk about the connection, but forget the situation, the peristaltic movement. This peristaltic movement is strongly linked with the stress, the adaptation of the stress of the people. And in my clinic, we have some treatments that can do a better movement by in the neuromuscular situation for performance and for athletical performance, but in the muscle of the gut, and then we have benefits in this kind of movement too. And of course the nutrition, of course the quality of the sleep is very important in this circle of life, in this movement of life. And sometimes when we talk the brain gut connection, we can lose the connection of the rolliness. And this rolliness of the life is linked between with the cell energy, and the cell energy is linked to many things. No? And the adaptation of the stress is the most important things to have a balanced movement of the inner cell or the movement of the whole body. I think that this is very important to think about the connection, brain gut connection, but it's very important to think about the life connection with all, by nervous system, or by what we think about life. Many times this principle, it's the first thing we have to review and to make better decisions for personal situation or for social situation, and the kind of the nutrition we have to make it, the kind of all the things that my colleagues talked here. This decision is fundamental to cultivate the wealth.
Yes.
In, by myself, or by social decisions.
Yes, that's for sure. Christopher, welcome.
Yeah,
Here we are, like 60% Brazilians.
possible.
I'm so glad to
I
present.
apologize for being late, but I did have to drive across state lines. It took about 5 hours. I was expected to take 4 hours, but I left at 3 I woke up at 3 a.m. Eastern time, so that's right. I'm in a new state. This is my fourth state in the fourth day, so I'm a little tired, but I can go
But
for
you
it.
have to
So
sleep, darling, because without sleeping, we're just talking about,
yeah,
the mental
that's
health
my one.
is extremely
That's
important.
my one vice, but I manage fairly well. So, but hey, someone had a question for me or a comment.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Sandra.
Yes, so hi, I would like to know about the social behavior. So, in law, business, and public policy, we see increasing polarization and loss of trust. From your perspective, how does individual health, especially mental and metabolic health, affect social behavior, ethics, and cooperation in society?
Well, I think the stress kind of leads to addictions, and I think they feed each other. To be completely honest with you, and especially in my profession, because I'm a litigation attorney, so I do a lot of disputes where I'm constantly doing trials, and this is for a lot of different types of practice areas. One of the most emotional practice areas I do is probate, which is, I mean, it's dealing with the deceased individual, and the kids are fighting over the deceased parents' money. And a lot of times it's a lot of it's emotionally driven, but you'll see not only the clients, but a lot of my peers, the attorneys, when they're witnessing and they have to supervise the stress, they get stressed out too. And this is why attorneys are number one in suicide, depression, substance abuse, alcohol abuse, and probably everything you can probably imagine. But I think it's not only the stress itself, but I think they feed their bad addictions. They'll get into drugs and they'll get into bad late night eating, and I see it routinely. And this is why I don't respect a lot of other members of my profession, because they really can't manage their own health. A lot of them, they kind of try to bash me for not eating a bunch of sweets, and even though I have a little bit of tequila every 3 weeks, that's probably the most I'll go, and they drink quite heavily, and they think I'm weird for eating just meat when my body mass index is still fairly like at a good level. And I don't know, I wish they can kind of open up their eyes. But back to your question, I think that a stress, if you do not know how to manage it, that it could lead to addiction problems, not only with food, but other substances. But then when you're, like I said, they feed each other. Usually when I see someone with a bad diet, I see them mentally unstable. And I don't want to paint the picture out, but I've had some ex, girlfriends that I've dated, and I notice that when they get off the diet, they get very unstable. And
But
that's why I probably
Christopher,
should start dating carnivores.
yes, we have here Hua that the last time you couldn't talk to him, and I really want to put you two to talk. Hua
Sure.
has a mental health clinic in Brazil, especially for addictions.
Definitely.
And I
That's going
have
to be
to
very
say, I
useful.
am addicted to sugar. I have to say that,
I never got addicted to sugar.
oh
I
my
mean, I'm
God,
weird.
it's so
I
difficult.
think it's a
Sometimes
female thing, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, I'm not being, misogynistic. I just think a lot of females, they give into sugar. A lot of guys, they give into like probably more starches, like, like heavy carbs, potato chips, like beer. But as a former personal trainer in my prior profession before becoming an attorney, I mean, I was the head personal trainer at the gym. I've trained more people than anybody else. And I noticed that whenever I had like clients getting off their food shorts and like, especially during the holidays, it was mainly the females that were slipping with these sweets. The guys were just eating a bunch of like everything crap, but it wasn't really sugar. The sugar was there's got to be some type of like genetic or kind of like some kind of like biological kind of response to sugar for males versus females. Maybe I can have one of the medical doctors kind of comment, because I'm just a
yes.
research doctor, but I'm curious if there is something about the female gender where they're more predisposed to kind of like craving sugar than the average male.
I love all of them to answer that, and I have to add something to Dr. Neri. I am in
Okay.
premenopause, and trust me, when the need come, I want to eat the cake, but I'm not eating because I'm going with my head and I'm saying
Yeah.
it's not good. Francesca, don't eat it. So
Just eat a bunch of animal fat and you'll be fine. Satiety.
no, I do, but it's not the same. It's not the same.
Okay.
So Dr. Neri, please respond this.
I think that the point is sexual hormones, maybe the less important function of them are sexuality. Sexual hormones, the main site of binding is our brain. So when we have low levels of hormones like estradiol, like testosterone, we have an imbalance of neurotransmitters. When you don't have healthy levels of sexual hormones in your brain, you can get addicted to sugar, but you can have a lot of mental issues like depression, like anxiety, and that's a point when you talk about menopause and premenopause, and during certain periods of time in women's health. So that's an important thing. When you have oscillations in hormonal levels, we can observe, we can see a change in the behavior of both male and women, but women are more sensitive for that.
And why sugar? Not fried potato, as Christopher said.
Yeah, I know most guys they just become like starch addicts, and then
Yes,
you know the
yes. They
females
they
are
want
like, no,
fried
they just
potato and they want a beer. Women, they
Uh,
want sugar.
we used sugar when we were starving in nature. So sugar is a way of surviving when you don't have anything more to eat, when you don't have what to hunt, or when you don't have fat. We had to eat like a potato or anything else. Your brain knows that sugar will give you a lot of energy in a short period of time. So you search for that, and that's the point.
So, Hua, you think that I'm eating sugar because I'm not eating enough fat?
Uh, you are
well,
eating sugar because you're not eating too much fat. Fat? No, I don't think it's only that. Um, the thing is, we know sugar is addictive, and carbs are addictive, and not everyone is addicted. That's the first thing. For example, everyone that drinks alcohol or tries alcohol for the first time, is everyone going to be alcoholic? No. We know it's 9 or 13%. We are seeing the same with food. It's not everyone that is addicted to carbs. I think carbs are the most addictive part of the food. And it didn't go, we have the DSM-5. It's a catalog where we put all the mental pathologies, and we have criteria to be diagnosed with one or other, and they almost put it food addiction there. It didn't go inside because they couldn't. In There was a lot of fights with the studies that they couldn't come to a conclusion for which food gave addiction. I'm uh, I'm not a carb addict. I think I'm a carb like really addict. And I discovered it after I was on carnivore diet, because when I was a smoker. I smoked. I used to smoke cigarettes. I stopped smoking 25 years ago, and cigarettes give a very big craving. When I started carnivore diet, I I was having a lot of benefits. I was feeling great and everything. But I said, when I started, I said, when I'm gonna do my resonance magnetic resonance to see how my liver is, because it was really fatty liver. And after that, I'm gonna eat an ice cream, and then I'm gonna continue with the carnivore diet. And I did it. My liver was great. I was getting rid of my fat in the liver. I ate the ice cream. First of all, my gut was destroyed after the ice cream. I started feeling bad, but I started having really big cravings. So I had to ask for a pizza. I ate cookies. I'm a junk. I think with carbs. And I realized like, oh, it's the same craving I have with cigarettes. And I started looking for studies of food addiction. And I saw that we start the same places in our brain. They're active. The same places we activate when we are with cravings for cocaine, for example. So we have all the recompense, the compensation in the brain with dopamine, and we start using parts of the brain that are used the same that we see in addictions. So I'm really convinced that food addiction exists. I think carbs are a very big part of it. We know that carbs, it's sugar, salt, and fat. If you mix the three of them, you have a very addictive food. And the industry uses that and puts other things that make it more addictive. So I started working with some patients that have food addiction, compulsion for food, and I said, no, let's focus on carbs. Let's take out carbs and see how it's going. When you take out carbs, you're not, when you're on a carnivore diet, you're not going to eat like 3 kilos of meat and like first, perhaps once that you are in a barbecue and you eat more than you should, but you get filled, you get with carbs. No, you are hungry in a short space of time, and you want more, and you start thinking about carbs. And when I have a relapse in my carnivore diet, I measured in me. It's like for 2 weeks I keep thinking about food, about carbs, or sweet, or pizza, or bread. But I think all the time. That's one of the signs of compulsivity. And after 2 weeks, the craving goes off, and I start feeling okay with the food, and I stop thinking about food all the time. But when I have a relapse, and it's the same, it was with cigarettes. When I stopped, I was thinking about cigarettes all the time. Now I don't think about cigarette, but you have a time that you have very big cravings, and I felt in myself the cravings for food. And when I was working, like, you are a carb addict with some patients, we had a very big result, and they could lose weight and eat, and they stopped having the torture that is being thinking about food all the time, that it makes all diets difficult. So that's why I work with the patient. Like, it has to be your lifestyle. It doesn't have to be a diet. So you have to change it. Like, you eat this way. This is the way your body was made for eating. I don't think everyone should be on carnivore diet, but at least keto diet, or take out all these industrial foods or hyper palatable foods that are addictive. They give you health issues. So when we take it off, it's difficult, but it's difficult for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you start having a better way of dealing with it.
I just noted in the United States, you have to be very selective of the farmers. But let's say, for example, chicken. Poultry is usually more inflammatory than beef because, chickens and pigs are monogastric stomach systems. They only have one chamber. So they can't break down soy and grains like like cows, because that's why a grain-fed cow is not substantially worse in omega-3 sixes than a grass-fed. But chickens are very inflammatory. But you have to find a soy-free, corn-free chicken farmer or pig farmer. And I actually just came in from Nevada today. I'm in LA just for today and tomorrow, but I actually have a big shipment of like a couple 100 pounds of just, or not a couple hundred, but like 40 pounds of just chicken that I store in a meat freezer, but it's all corn-free, soy-free chicken. And I notice when I eat this type of chicken, I feel a lot better. But if I eat a crappy chicken, yes, it's
I
definitely
agree
feels
with
like
you. I agree with you. This is why we go to the market here, special market, and buy from the small farmers. But even though, I don't see a chicken putting the same size of an egg, even being organic. And by saying that, Dr. Fabio take cares of a lot of meat producers in Brazil, and they are his clients.
Yes.
And they all have, most of them are calling Dr. Fabio to have a better quality of life. Tell me about it, because this is very interesting. Your clients, they are the big producers of meat in Brazil, and they're all under stress, and their epigenetic is not the best. So tell me about it, Dr. Fabio. This is interesting.
Yes, I have clients from the agro, from to have a soy cultivating, corn cultivating, and the farms of the meat, and all of them have no a big health. All of them have very strong issues with pain, with memory, cognitive decline, especially with use the toxins, no, for the to cultivate the things.
The vegetables.
It's a very toxic thing, and the family of the workers now will have a high level of autism in her in the children's. It's not a good a good way that the health is going on in these people, and they have the money to do anything, but the health, it's each time is better, it's worst.
And autism, it's huge also in US. Christopher, you were talking about last time about autism in kids. And then
yes.
Dr. Luis Neri works a lot with food and the metabolic system for kids as well. So like Christopher, for you to say about the autism, the
Yeah,
the average
perfect.
autism that you have in US, and what are you doing into your politician way,
Well, in my
like that?
congressional, see what you could change in health, but I try to explain to people, and a lot of people have a trouble understanding this. But whatever you put in your mouth is going to affect your body head to toe. So a lot of people do not come to the conclusion or realization that something that you're eating can be affecting, and most likely will be affecting you mentally. So in my profession as an attorney, I do a lot of adult guardianships. We call it conservatorships. It's when people get dementia, but it's a very similar kind of protocol, and basically how kids develop autism. It's usually kind of an imbalance in their brains. And I've taken depositions of a lot of geriatric psychiatrists and kind of neurologists on this kind of same topic, but the problem is they're not trying to treat the autism or dementia. They're just trying to manage it, and or they'll do what's called or they'll just diagnose it. Really, they'll just diagnose it and just put them on medications that just kind of mask the symptoms. They don't treat it. But this is where I do have a slight disagreement with RFK Jr. RFK Jr. was making the conclusion that vaccines are the primary cause of autism. Like, no, it's not just vaccinations. And this is coming from probably someone who's the most like anti-vax attorney you can probably find in the United States. I said, no, diet is a primary role, not only what the mother is eating while the child is in the womb, but also what the child is eating once they're developing. And people don't realize that ketogenic diets, were not developed for fat loss. I mean, a lot of people do not recognize. So they were developed for epilepsy and autism. Probably about, I want to say it was like maybe 80
It
years ago or
was
something. Yeah,
it was for treating seizures about
there
100
you go.
years ago
Yeah,
for
yeah,
epilepsy.
it was yeah, epileptic seizures. Exactly. Good point, Dr. Juan.
It was
And
90% fat, 7% protein, and 3% carbs was the
yeah,
initial
yeah, and they
diet.
just found out that ketogenic diets have like broad benefits on the human body. It's not only just for protecting yourself mentally, but also getting your metabolism revving up, and great for fat loss because you're usually kind of getting fat from carbohydrates. But they forget that the diet was one of the primary factors in elderly developing dementia, but also children having an imbalanced mind, such as autism, and they can't function properly. So this is where we want to place a lot more emphasis on diet and medicine. And this is going to be my focus in my congressional kind of run, my campaign for the next year.
Talking about health, medicine, and how we can change it, I had a very nice call with Dr. Neri. I met Dr. Neri in one of his podcasts when he was saying that salt, protein, and fat, it was what it was inside of a woman's milk when she's feeding the child. And I want to understand this. How can we keep putting salt, protein, and fat in our food after we're not being breastfed, Dr. Neri?
So that's a point that most people can't understand, and I actually don't know why. Because when we are young, when you are still babies, and we need being breastfed, we are eating basically fat. 40% of our calories in the milk is saturated fat. And when we start introducing food to a child that is older, we need to keep introducing it with fat, with animal fat, because that's truly important for the development of a child's brain. As I said earlier, our brain is made out of mainly of fat, and if you don't give fat for a child, you can have a healthy brain development. So it's pretty simple. When we have a child introducing the solids, the food, the complementary food to the breastfeeding, we can use meat as well. Obviously, you will observe its consistency. You will keep breastfeeding for a long time, up to 1 or 2 years, and up to 1 year of age. The milk, the milk will still be the mainly source of calories and of water, but you need to introduce at the same time animal fat.
Yeah, I have 3 kids, and I couldn't breastfeed my kids because I had cesarean, and I was extremely in pain, was hysterical. And then, in the hospitals, I had one in Italy and 2 in Brazil, both Italy and Brazil. They never make me breastfeed the kids. They say, okay, you're in pain, don't do it. And they put right away the fake milk right away. So in the hospitals, they do not teach the woman, no, even if you're in pain, if you have cesarean, you have to breastfeed your child. And I saw a research that the same thing happened in US as well. Christopher, I don't know if you're aware of it.
Well, I just know for a fact that I was primarily fed infant formula after less than a week of being born. And I discovered this later on in life. I'm like, oh, mother, I developed some autoimmune problems, and I'm a little more sensitive. This is, I actually eat even before I went carnivore, and even before I ate keto, I was always in decent shape. So I always ate healthier than the rest of my family. I'm like, I'm having some autoimmune problems. This is kind of weird, but I couldn't explain it. But that was one thing she discovered, and that's another reason why a lot of newborns are having so many complications. You'll find this out with any OBGYN kind of doctor here in the United States, is that more and more newborns are having so many complications, but they're not getting to the source of the problem, the root cause. They're feeding them a lot of infant formula, which has so many chemicals and crap into it, and they're not
And
getting the
sugar.
actual.
And this is why
Yeah.
we're addicted to sugar. And now the new ones have soya. And this is
Ah.
where you see a lot of less masculine guys, in
Because
the
we
young
don't have any
generation.
option without soil.
Yeah.
Here we don't have any option without soy oil. We don't have. In US, you can still find some option without it, but here in Brazil, because some laws, we need to feed our children with soy oil, newborn. That's crazy.
This is crazy. So how can we change this law in Brazil? The only way to change this law in Brazil is by doing an international networking like we're doing, getting lawyers. This is why we need you, Christopher. Lawyers.
You need
in
lawmakers.
US.
So you need someone that, if you're going to be creating or implementing a law, you need someone that actually knows the law. And this is why I'm
Yes.
kind of against a lot of individuals that are like, real estate investors or, specializing in finance. Like, well, I can change the government. Like, no, you got to be a populist. You got to have a broad span of abilities to kind of fix any kind of country or smaller local government. But yeah, you need lawmakers. And that's what the folks in Nevada told me, is that not only are you kind of the biggest proponent of health, we need lawmakers. So we've never found an attorney that's that thrilled and enthusiastic about fixing health of the country, because most of the attorneys are the opposite of health.
Your support means the world, and we're excited to keep exploring new ideas, sharing powerful conversations, and taking you deeper into the stories that shape the systems around us. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. Stay curious, stay inspired, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care and keep looking behind the system